for us to start, then I can go ahead.
All right. Yeah, so I've started the recording and I'm going to start now. So once again, thank you, Mr. Mustafa, for honoring our Dr. Mustafa for honoring our invitation.
No big deal.
Yeah, so Dr. Mustafa is a postgraduate research fellow in the UAE, and he has had experience working as a food scientist and as a scientific researcher in the UAE and in the National Housing University. He is also specialized in strategic leadership, time management, task management, creative thinking, critical thinking, collaboration, conflict resolution, environmental awareness, curriculum development, educational leadership, educational technology, project management, program management, staff development, among other things. We would be discussing with him today how you'd apply to schools in the UAE. He'll be sharing his experience on his application process, being in the UAE for a while now, how the UAE system is, and also we'll touch on some other things that include cost of living, the cultural shocks, or let's say cultural intelligence aspect of being in UAE. So once again, welcome and thank you for honoring this invitation, Dr. Mustafa.
Thank you very much, Muhammad. And I'll just start by saying once again, I am Mustafa Mbai. My family name is difficult to pronounce, but Mustafa is enough. I am a Gambian. Uh, I started my studies actually in Taiwan. Most of you already know Taiwan is like a small island in the Southeast Asia. That's where I did my bachelor's. That's where I did my master's, and I stayed in Taiwan for quite over a decade. I was in Taiwan since 2009, and I left Taiwan in 2017. I joined the UAE University in 2017 as a PhD student. And to apply in the UAE University is just like any other university in the sense that I always tell students that before you apply to a university, you need to get your documents ready. And at least the first thing you need to do, make sure that you get your diploma. If you're applying for a PhD, for example, get your master's degree ready, get your transcript ready, and make sure that you write a good academic CV. Most of you already know how to write a good academic CV, which is catchy. And after doing that, try to write a research proposal. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just write something, get some ideas together. And once you do that, the first thing you need to do, try to look for uh, an advisor, like a professor that you can work with. For example, in the UA University, we have 9 colleges. So we include College of Business and Economics, College of Humanity and Social Sciences, College of Education, College of Medicine, College of IT, College of Agriculture and Veterinary Medicine, so College of Engineering. Basically, we have all fields, most of the fields. So once you get your things ready, go to that college. For example, I was in the College of Food and Agriculture. So the first thing I did was I went to the College of Food and Agriculture. I looked the profile of all the professors. Then I choose one of them. I read her work, her papers and stuff like that. So Then I write a introductory email. Always write a very catchy introductory email. Your email should not be general. Your email should be like specific. Try to like know the person, introduce yourself well. Make sure that you tell the person that I read your work. I'm interested in this particular work, especially your this paper or your this project. So that will like kind of like show the person that you are not only throwing your CV or your introductory email to everyone, but you are really genuinely interested in his or her work. Once you do that, most of the professors in the UAE university, they have some research projects and they are definitely looking for a PhD student and sometimes even master's student as well. So once you introduce yourself and write a good academic email, academic CV, once the professor is interested in you, then you can start, applying proper. So sometimes don't worry. Maybe you have like in the department whereby you have 9 professors. You can start from one of them. Send an introductory email. If the person doesn't have any grant or is not willing to accept you, go to another one. Send another email to the other person. But don't try to send email to all of them at once. That's always a bad idea. Start sending email to one of them, the one that you are interested in. If the person said, okay, I'm sorry, I don't need student or I don't have any grant, then try to send another email to the next professor. Definitely, if the department have like more than 6 7 professor, most likely one of them will be willing to accept you. They either have a grant that where you can be paid, you can be hired in the grant and paid, or you can be accepted because the university have what we call fellowship with stipend, and this is given to students who have research experience. If you already have a research experience with some publication, the professor will tell you, okay, unfortunately, I don't have grant, but you can apply to the university directly. Then the university will accept you, and they will provide you with a fellowship with stipend, which is okay because they will pay you something like 5,000 dirham every month. I don't know, maybe there's like around 627,000 naira. Because 1 dirham is equivalent to, I think, 125 or something. Yeah, 125 naira equals to 1 dirham. So basically, you will get that if you are admitted with a fellowship with stipend. That's one option. Another option is you can get full-fledged scholarship. If you are like, as I said, you have research experience and you have like very nice publication and you are top-notch student, then you can get a full scholarship, which is about 8,000 dirham per month. So, but before you are given a scholarship, you already have to get a professor who is willing to supervise you. That's why I always said in every university, the first thing you need to do in graduate school is for you to look for a professor. And like some students, what they do once they try one professor and in a department and the professor said, I'm sorry, they just give up. Like if you're really interested in the university or in the program, as I said earlier, just go from one professor to the next. By the time you finish all of them, most likely one of them will be willing to accept you as a student. Another thing that most students ask me about your university is you need to do English proficiency like IELTS or TOEFL. So most African students, that's a problem because it's expensive to do, IELTS or TOEFL is because you need to pay a lot of money and you need a lot of time to prepare for it. And you need to get like a band 6.5 if you want to be admitted in the PhD. And you need band 6 if you want to be admitted in the master's program. And some students will also ask me, is there any like IELTS waiver or TOEFL waiver? Unfortunately, no. And getting an IELTS is a basic requirement in the UAE university. Some universities in the West, so they will waive you, they will waive IELTS or TOEFL for you because you are from an English-speaking country, definitely. But unfortunately, in your university, that's not the case. Uh, I had like encounter with the postgraduate admission. I think the director of postgraduate admission. I said, how come you give waivers to many countries like Jamaica, Q, all those Caribbean countries? Even Haiti, which is a French-speaking country, they give waiver to Haiti. Yeah, I said, but Haiti actually is a French-speaking country, but all those small Caribbean countries, but no African country, they don't give any waiver to any African country. Even South Africa, whereby at least some of them are like, native speakers, but you have to submit the IELTS. That's one disadvantage in UA university. But I always tell my friends, if you really, really, really want to, want to get admitted, sacrifice, do the IELTS. Once you get admission, once you are paid 1 month, 2 months, you will forget all the money you spend, like preparing for the IELTS. I have like two students in my department actually. In my lab, they are from Nigeria. One of them is I just call him Clinton, and the other one is Abdul Gafar. So I told him that after 2 months, I said, guys, man, now you are receiving your money, you enjoying your money. Now you forget all the money you spend, preparing for the IELTS. And one of them told me, man, my dad had to, sold his car for us to, do the IELTS and get my air ticket. I said, but after 3 months, you already paid off, all that money. So that's a good thing. So don't worry about the money and the time you will spend doing it, because once you get your like 6.5 and you get a good academic CV and you get a good GPA, most likely 80 to 90% chances of you being admitted is high. So because the competition is not as high as most universities in the West. That's a part of the the admission process and stuff like that. So when it comes to like living standard, and I think I love because the university is located in a small town called Al Ain City. It's a small city, Al Ain City, which is very quiet, and basically you spend less. Once you paid your hostel fee, which is about 1,500 dirham, and that hostel fee include your feeding, your transportation, your internet, and everything. So you hardly spend 100 or 200 dirham a month, because all what you need is included in that 1,005 that you pay, like in the hostels. So I think that's advantage of studying in UA University, which is located. It's not located in Dubai. Many people said, "Are you in Dubai?" I said, "No," because the university is actually not in Dubai. It's like 1 hour 30 minutes drive from Dubai, and it's 1 hour 30 minutes drive from Abu Dhabi, the capital. So it is located in a small city. The city is quiet, but very very peaceful. So you'll enjoy a peaceful life, but it's not fun, unfortunately. Unless if you're a fun guy, that means you need to travel like 1 hour 30 minutes to drive to Dubai or to Abu Dhabi to have fun. But otherwise, it is a good place to study and live. So I would just say, if you have any question regarding the living standard, regarding scholarship, regarding how to approach a professor, so you feel free to ask me anything.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions before I allow the audience ask questions, and also please, we can drop our questions in the chat box so that I'll pick them from there. So the first question I would ask is, seeing that the United Arab Emirates is relate like is developing rapidly. What are the range of fields that I can apply to in the United Arab Emirates?
University or in the like if you want to apply, for example, in the UAE university, I told you we have 9 colleges.
Mhm.
Uh, but actually, for you to apply for a scholarship, we have what we call uh, top priority areas, whereby is renewable energy, information security, uh, and we have like educational innovation. I think the other one we have is like it's in medicine. They call it, I think, some topic in medicine. But this is what they call it, the top priority areas. But if you want to apply other fields, we have like a range of fields. Let's say in engineering we have electrical, we have mechanical, we have civil, we have even architectural engineering. We have a variety of them. Actually, most of the Nigerian students are in engineering. We have Faiz is in civil. We have Muhammad Gombe is in mechanical. We have Wale is in mechanical. We have many of them. We have Toy in electrical. We have Babatunde in petroleum. We have, I think, OC. We have in the chemical. We have most of the Nigerian students are actually in the electrical, in the engineering areas. And I don't know like the details, but I know there are different engineering areas where you can apply to.
Oh, thank you. So with the list of names you've mentioned, I think it's safe to infer that, or will it be safe to infer that we have a lot of Africans there in the UAE?
Yes, definitely. Because when I started, actually, I was the only no. Yeah, when I started in 2017, actually we had only 12 PhD students when I started in 2017, and now we have 140 something. Within a range of 5 years, the PhD grew from 12 to 140 something, and we have probably close to 15 to 20, about 20 Nigerians. In 2018, we have one Nigerian who joined me, and then I was the only African student in 2017. In 2000, I think 18, we have one Nigerian student, something like call it Abdul Khudus. And another year, after that year, we have more Nigerian students. I think around 10 started. So basically, we have many Nigerian students.
Oh, okay, that's great. So there's this thing about requirement for when you get a scholarship.
Mm.
So I remember during my undergraduate studies, you need to maintain certain GPA. So what is the equivalent for a PhD candidate or a master's candidate?
That's right. I think I would say about, because we normally say GPA of 3 out of 4. Uh, like some universities, they will do the average. So let's say GPA of 3 out of 4, you can convert that to average. Because when I was doing my master's in my university, we were not like using the GPA system, we were using the average system. And when I told the university I'm using the average system, they just told me to convert the average to GPA. So you can easily do that. 3 out of 4. That's the one admission requirement.
Okay.
Yep.
So you've done your PhD and now doing your postdoc. What are those things in terms of cultural shock you had when you first got into UAE?
Actually, I think not much, in the sense that I'm a Muslim, so and I think the culture here is a Muslim culture. So I moved to UAE because like here, I mean, like the culture and the level of morality and all those things is already something that I was used to back in the Gambia. So uh, and the food, because I didn't live outside, so I live basically my first year is from university to the hostels, and the hostels is like a more international hostels. They provide food that is more like, you know, international standard, whereby everybody from Africa, from let's say from India or from Pakistan or from Bangladesh will be like, you know, more international food whereby everybody know. So, and since I don't live outside in the society and I live amongst my fellow student, uh, there was not like a big, you know, cultural shock when we were like on me, but it might depend if you were like from a different part of the world or you are a Christian. But actually, to be honest, they are Christian friendly as well because, like I told you, most of the students I'm mentioning here, maybe half of them are Muslim, but some of them are Christian, and because they are tolerant. Already, I think half of the hostel I live, half of them are Christian because they are from I think Rwanda, Ethiopia, we have Eritrea, we have Somalia, not exactly Somalia, but because they have a government scholarship and they are sponsored by their government, and they really treat them well because you know they want them to be comfortable. So I think the environment is good. I don't have any major uh, culture shock.
Okay, thank you for that. So my next question would be around your experience when you gain admission. So you gained admission and you were to move to UAE. How was the process from the school, from the angle of the school? Were they available to kind of help you put things in place, or you had to figure out your way, probably by asking people in the school already or something?
Uh, yeah, my experience might be different from some other people's experience. My experience was good, I thought, in the sense that I was already in Taipei when I got admission, and they were really, really, really helpful because once I got admission, uh, they sent me my visa through email, like because it's an e-visa, entry visa, and I was sending them email. They provided transport for me from the airport, you know, to pick me up from the airport direct to the hostels, and they give me like a grace period of 1 month to pay my hostel fee. You know, they provide a health insurance. They pick me from the hostel to do my medical tests. They were picking me from the hostels to do all my paperwork. So it was really nice. But mind you, that experience might not be the same for everyone now. Remember, that was like 5 years ago, and we were only few. So whatever we needed was provided for us. But now the number of students are more. I think once you admitted, they will definitely provide you with the visa. Then you will, pay your ticket and try to find your way here. But they might not provide. They might or they might not. It depends. If you send them email, for example, requesting for a transport, a pickup from the airport to the hostels, they might provide you with transport because we have a transport department whereby we have a fleet of cars that is just waiting for to be called upon to provide service to students or staff.
Okay, so piggybacking on when you talked about the application process, you mentioned how one should send an email at a time and wait to get response. Is there a particular reason why I shouldn't send an email to multiple persons who share similar interests in what I want to do?
Yeah, because I'm just saying this through experience. Like there wasn't one example. I would give example of one Nigerian student. I think he was already in Australia. Actually, he wanted to come here to study, and he sent email to one professor in the same in my department, because he connected with me on the LinkedIn anyways. So he sent email to one professor, and the professor was willing to, accept him, and the professor was willing to pay him from his grant 5,000 dirham. And he sent another email to another professor and asking for more. Okay. And since these professors they talk, and this professor replied to him with a CC to that professor that he sent email, who was willing to accept him, that this student, he told me that this student is willing to work with you, and this is the name, he's from Australia. The same student is sending email to me requesting for me to pay him more. And both of them reject the student, and the College of Graduate School also reject his application, because they reported him to the College of Graduate Studies. And he sent that snapshot of the email the College of Graduate Studies sent to him, that how come the College of Graduate Studies, they said that unfortunately my application is revoked. They already admitted him. Because like you might be lucky, like if you want to apply in multiple schools, it's okay. That's all what we do. We can apply 10 different schools, 20 different schools. But in the same department, you want to contact two professors at the same time, because most of them, they're friends already. They talk, they have tea together, you know. It's always a bad idea to do that.
Okay. So besides GPA and publication, is there something else to look, like, is there something you should look at when reaching out to professor? Is there other things you should consider?
I would say, like, for example, some students, they have what we call, is it GRA or GRE something?
Mm-hmm.
Some, because it's not a requirement, but it helps in the scholarship. Because I was actually working in the College of Graduate Studies. I worked there for 2 years at the College of Graduate Studies, whereby I was responsible of contacting students who started application and couldn't complete, and make a follow-up and help them in their application process. And one day I asked the Dean of College of Graduate Studies, I said, how come this student A have a scholarship and student B is having a fellowship? And he said, because student A is having IELTS at the same time is having GRE. I said, but there's no GRE requirement. And he said, yeah, it's not like a requirement, but if you have it, it's a plus. Okay. And in the publication also, some have publication, but let's say in Q1, you have one publication in Q1, which is 2 points. If you have publication in Q2, it's 1 point. If you have publication in Q3, it's half a point. Somebody might have, let's say, 4 publication, and someone will have 1 publication, and they have the same points, point base. For awarding a scholarship or a fellowship, you have a point base. Like if you get your GPA 3 out of 4, you have 2 points for that. If you get your IELTS 6.5, that which is a basic requirement, you get, I think, 2 points. If you get a publication in Q1, if you get only 1 paper, but in Q1, you have 2 points. If you get like 1 publication in Q2, you have 1 point instead of 2. If you have a publication in Q3 or Q4, you might have half a point. So all those things, these are like small details, but it counts to them. If you have like a GRE, that's 2 points. If you don't have it, it's fine. You'll still be admitted. But if you have it, it's like a plus. You have more points. they rank students according to these points, and they will award scholarship based on these points. And another thing is also they will award scholarship first to students who apply in UAE priority areas, as I told you, like in information security, like educational innovation, and something like in medicine. I cannot remember actually, but stuff like that. They call UAE priority areas, and renewable energy and water resources. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So you mentioned earlier that you worked at the admissions. I,
Yes.
I
Yes.
just want to get a I just want to understand if as a student you can work besides the scholarship grants you get from the school. So
Yeah. Sometimes you do, but sometimes because like as I told you, like the during my time, it's always a different time because we were few. So we were like we had so many priorities and so many like opportunities that current students, because their laws are keep on changing. I had like a scholarship and I was working in the library. There was a time I worked in the library just to adjust, my pay. Then there was a time I started to work at the College of Graduate Studies. They gave me a few hours. So, but now after some time they changed the rule that it's unfair, like for us to give you scholarship at the same time to allow you to work, you know, to gain more income. They start to give priority to people without, because there are people with admission without any stipend. So
okay.
now they start to give priority to students who with admission without stipend to work in the College of Graduate Studies or to work in the library or to be teacher assistant or whatever, for them to at least get some income.
Oh, that's great. So I'd allow the audience to ask questions now. Please, if you have a question, you can raise your hand. Okay, so while I wait for the audience to ask questions, I saw that you're specialized in a lot of things, ranging from strategic leadership
Mm.
to community outreach and data analysis. In your work as a food scientist, what's the role of data?
Yeah, because like I have a lot of experience before I actually come to your university. I was more into education. I studied actually my first degree was in education. My first degree was in education. I got like a bachelor's in education, and I was a teacher actually in a high school, in a junior high in the Gambia, and I also taught like actually in international school. We call it American Eagles in Taiwan. It's like a international school. That's when I was moving to UAE. I was a teacher I was a curriculum developer and a teacher trainee in American Eagles in Taiwan. So, uh, but after teaching for many years, I just wanted more. I wanted to move more into from basic education more into higher education, like higher academic stuff like that. So now, because now I'm a full-time researcher, I'm a postdoc, but my job entails supervising student and like in my team we are like I think 11. We are 11 students. We have five master students and four PhD students and the two postdoc in my team. So because since I have a lot of experience in using all the equipments and collecting the data and writing the proposal for a professor and all the stuff, so I will help them when they need. And once they collect all their data, they will submit to me. So I'll do the data analysis try to do the data pre-processing, get the data ready for them, submit it to them, and allow the student to write their first draft before they submit to me to do the final reading and check the reference, check the information, and to make sure that everything is. I thank you. So to make sure that everything is ready, then I will submit it to the journals for publication. That's my role. I'm like, I have my own project, uh, but my project is just like I work on anti-diabetic effect of camel milk, but so that I can do it like for just part time. Maybe I will spend an hour or two, on my own project. But most of the time, I'm on leading the other PhD and master student, helping them out to figure out what's going on. Like because the professor is so busy, she's old, she doesn't have so much time to help them, so she will just direct them all to me.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. So there's a question here. Does UAE accept direct PhD from bachelors? So
Yes, they do.
uh,
They accept, but your GPA have to be higher, yeah,
mhm.
and you have to show what you call research potential. Research potential might not be necessarily mean publication. It depends on I would say, the supervisor you are applying to, whether he or she can, uh, let's say, gauge you in somehow, to check your potential. Sometimes, like in my group, for example, if you have a position and three or four or five students apply for the same position, I will I will check their profile, then I will check their CV. So I'll check their publications, but for me that's not enough. I have to engage them somehow. You know, I might even throw some questions, just random questions, to check their research potential. Once they have a research potential, you can easily train them. Once you train them, they will be good to go. So once you just say that you can start, you can do from bachelor's to PhD, and once the professor feel that you have research potential, you are good to go.
Okay. So you mentioned that some of the things you look at is the CV,
Mhm.
um, the person's research potential, among other things. So, looking at the CV, what are those key touch points you watch out for?
Yeah, because like always some like professors, they will even check the university you graduate from. Yeah,
Mm.
which is a disadvantage, like uh, for for some students, because they will check whether you graduate from the top 400 universities in the world, which is unfair. But that's one thing. University you graduate from, they might even cite the university. Say you graduate from the University of the Gambia, for example. Like I'm Gambian, so or you go to you can say other university, University of Lagos, for example. They will check that university you graduate from, the rank of university in your country, for example, and they might check the rank of your university in the world ranking. Is this actually a genuine or an authentic university? That's one thing that they will check. Definitely your educational background. Two, as I said, your experience. So, do you have any like interpersonal skills, any voluntary job, any? It's not like some people, they might be good academically, but they might not be very good in a team settings. So I always check, do you have any like voluntary work? Do you Can you be in my team? Can you fit in my team? You know, so because some they are good, but they are only good individually. They are not good in a team, yeah, in a team setup. So for me, I watch out for those things.
Okay. So you watch out for the person's soft skills to see if they match your team's requirement,
That's right.
and also if they volunteer, sort of to see if they have like leadership potentials and if they
Yes.
can lead themselves or others in the team.
Mm.
That's great. So there's a question here that says, is there a compulsory requirement to have, is publication a compulsory requirement, basically?
No, not really. Well, as I said earlier, a publication is not part of the requirement. It's just applause. It's not.
Oh, okay. So, looking at the fact that people can apply directly from their bachelor's, and you mentioned how a higher grade is important.
Mm,
So, let's assume a case scenario where you have a student with
mm,
a rather average grade,
mm,
but with a lot of research potential and leadership abilities.
mm.
uh, does that person have a higher hand than someone who has a very good grade but less research experience or no research experience?
Yeah, because what we have sometimes we have what is called conditional acceptance. So maybe your GPA is not up to the standard or like
Mhm.
the basic requirement. So you can be accepted, and they want to see in the first semester whether you will improve. You will get a better GPA. I like to give examples. There was a student here. I don't know, somehow his GPA was good from the masters, but maybe he haven't studied for a while. So when he came the first semester, he was kicked out because he couldn't get like he couldn't maintain, just because here the courses are easy. I guess most people get A, but for him, somehow, I don't know what happened, but he couldn't get A or B. So he was getting D's and C's. And that brought his GPA, I think, to two, you know. Out of like we are looking for GPA of three, he didn't even get 2.5, but he got two out of four. And he was, kicked out of the program. Uh, the answer is will be like, even if your GPA is low, you can get a conditional acceptance, provided that you will improve your GPA in the first semester.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you. So, there's this thing where most persons applying for PhD, at least within the past 5 years, mostly people who have family, or you have a few persons who are very young and yet to get married. But looking at those persons who are married, for example, um, are they allowed to come along with their family?
Yeah,
And if yes, what are the requirements, or what are those things they should consider?
yeah. There are like I think half of the students from Africa, they are here with their family. Here I am in my apartment with my son, my wife, and most of the students, I wouldn't say most, but I would say half of the students here, they are with their family. We have one Baba Tunde. I think he's here with his two kids and his wife. We have Abdul, one of the guys, Abdul Mohsin, is here with his family. We have Abdul Wajid, he's here with his family. We have a couple of them. Some of the ladies are here also with their kids. So, because the university will definitely provide you with a visa for yourself and your family.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a question in the chat. Can social, like, can someone from a social science background apply for political science precisely in the UAE university?
Yes, you can apply in that field. So, if you are in the social sciences, so the good thing is like the best thing you need to do is you have to go to the College of Humanities and the Social Sciences, of course, you go to the faculty, then you will have uh, the profile of all the faculties. But mind you, there's not a lot of scholarship in the College of Social Sciences, unfortunately. But they have a lot of grants as well. So you can contact the professor because nowadays they are giving a lot of grants to the professors. So that means the professor is also looking for our students. So uh, once you see the profile and it matches, maybe you studied like law or you studied something different, but it has some connection somehow, you know, and the professor is willing to accept you, then you're good to go. Because I know one Gambian student who was in business. He studied MBA actually. Now he's studying educational leadership, which is two different things anyway. It's not that because in business MBA you have a lot of human resource courses, you have a lot of leadership courses as well in MBA. But his master's was MBA, and now his PhD he's doing educational leadership uh, from two different colleges anyway. He was in business, now he's in humanities. He was my roommate anyway, so I know him personally.
Okay. So, what are the after school opportunities for students, particularly African students?
Uh, I would say uh, it depends. It depends on your research potential. It also depends on the availability of grant. It depends. If you want to work, for example, I work in the university. I'm a postdoc. Okay, and my postdoc project is for 2 years. So if I want to continue working as a postdoc, I could. The only thing I need to do, I just need to write a nice proposal, and once the proposal is funded, so I will definitely continue. It's my project on just under a professor. I'll continue to work under that project. So because I'm eyeing for something. I'm eyeing to have a faculty position, which is hard to come by because the number of faculty positions are less compared to the number of graduates year in, year out.
Mm.
So for me to eye for that faculty position, I have to be content with, working as a postdoc while eyeing for, for that position. But if you want to work in the industry, also like those who study petroleum, chemical engineering, there are a lot of industries whereby you can apply, you know, to. So those who study education, there are a lot of educational institute whereby you can apply to. Those who study information security, the government most of the time they provide a lot of position for information security because it's a hot topic, and like by the time you graduate, the government will already provide you with the opportunity to work in the government sector, but that's not in every field anyways.
Okay. So, I'm done with my curated questions. Now I want to go to questions that focuses on things that people don't talk about. Um, so at the moment, I'm currently doing my postgraduate studies, and I know a couple of persons who are doing their PhD.
Mm,
And there's this thing about the difficulties because at some point
mm,
people don't know that majority of the PhD students at some point want to drop out, and it's because PhD is somewhat difficult. But there's this need for a lot of commitment from your side and a lot of self leadership. So, what do you like? What would you say around the things that people don't talk about but are there in PhD? Like why people want to drop out, why just things around the difficulties of PhD
yes,
that makes people want to drop out of PhD.
honestly, I wanted to drop out of the PhD in my second year, so I'll be glad to talk about my own personal story.
Okay.
Actually, when I came here, I was working under a young professor. He is very ambitious. He is very, determined to get, the ball rolling. he was assistant professor. He just came back from Australia. He was hired as a assistant professor. I always like to work with young professors because I know they're like very determined. They just want to make sure that they get promoted, so that will make them work harder. So I said, okay, this is a good opportunity for me to also work harder to make sure I get everything, get my publications. But since we were all young and he was too ambitious, and here also we have issue because we are taking courses. We are not only doing research based, but we are also taking courses, more especially in the first year. And he wanted me to be in the lab, let's say from 8 to 4, because that's like 8 hours, 8 working hours. But I also had to take courses. So, and he was like, you have to take your courses after 4 because you have to work from 8. Since I'm paying you 8,000, you have to work from 8 to 4, which is like a full time, like a full time job. Even though I was in the lab, but I still had to take courses. That was a really tough time for me because I need to wake up early to be in the lab at 8, and by the time I leave at 4, I have to run to my classes. I was already tired, extremely exhausted. And he also wanted me to do the research and get the research output, and it was really tough. And I think one day I was just swallowing it, right? But it was really challenging. And one day it was too much to handle. I just fought back and told him, you know what, you are not a nice person. He was upset. I said, but to be honest, you're not. I said, all other professors in the department, they allow their students, you know, time to do their assignments, take their courses, even in the morning. But like me, I'm not allowed to take any morning courses. Any course that was below 4, he wouldn't allow me to take the course because he wanted me to be in the lab, and that gave me a lot of pressure. And I think one day we just fought over little thing, like over a chemical. Where's the chemical? Did you buy the chemical? And we kind of like push and pull, and we fought like more or less physical. And all this was not about the chemical, but because of the tension, because of the pressure I had to go through. Uh, so I did decide to leave. I mean, I said, I cannot handle this pressure for the next 2 years because I already completed 2 years, but I decided to leave, and I told him that I'm done with you. I'm done. So then I resigned from my research assistant position. I went to the College of Graduate Studies, you know, to tell them, you know what, I'm done with the university. Sign me off. I'm out. But luckily, the dean was like, he said, you know what, you have so much research potential. Why do you want to leave? I won't sign this now. I'll give you 1 week to think about, it if you really want to. If you really want to, you know, want to leave the program. I said, okay. But I think luckily for me, since everybody in the department knew me, because we were only few actually, we were only two PhD students in the whole department at that time. So like other professor called me in private and said, hey, I heard that you want to leave. I said, yeah. And she's like, oh, are you willing to join my team? I said, of course, but I told her that what made me leave is the pressure and not allowing me to study or to take my classes. If you can allow me, and she said, I have no problem. I can give you the first 1 year. You just focus on your courses. You come to the lab whenever, you're free, but there's no like a time bound to come to the lab or to leave. So because of that, I shift from one professor in the middle of the game, in the middle of the program, to another. So PhD is not, it's not like an easy ride, and that's just my experience. Some they will fight with their professor. Some they will like have a problem because their experiment or their research is not going. It's like just stuck in one place, and you cannot figure out what's the problem. And once that happens, you have sleepless night because your professor cannot help you. You know, like some students now they are happy because we have a postdoc in my lab, but when I was in my team, We are only 3 PhD students in the team with no help from the professor or from anyone else. I remember I had like a research like experiment that took for 2 months. I couldn't figure out what's the problem. I couldn't run the gel. I was doing SDS page for 2 months. Can you imagine? Every day I'm preparing the sample and no one could help me. And I wanted to give up. So, but one day, luckily, one postdoc from the College of Science and said, you know what? Hey, let me just have a look, you know. And he just helped me figure out the problem. So those are some of the challenges you will face while doing your PhD program. It's not an easy ride. I always say that maybe only 10% of the PhD student will have an easy ride from the beginning to the end. But all the 90%, you will have a lot of blocks, roadblocks. You have a lot of issues either with your professor or either with your research or either with your courses. Some courses might be difficult and you need a GPA to keep your scholarship. So you have to expect that. And you have to have like a lot of patience. I always still advise people that don't be like me because I lose my pace. I lose it by the second year. Don't lose it. Just, you know, I try to have patience and just try to, it's 4 years, maximum 5 years. It seems long, but actually it's not very long. If you can have a lot of patience and try to be more friendly with your advisor and talk to the person like more often, then you're good to go.
Okay. So the concept of office hours is more or less a strange concept to students in Africa, particularly Nigeria, where I'm from. That's where I'm very sure of. So what's the advantage of office hours to students, particularly postgraduate students?
Here I always tell people like, if you have a nice advisor, oh boy, you enjoy your life. And I
Hmm.
said, I always tease this Nigerian student. I said, all of you are gaining weight within 2 months. Why all of you are gaining weight? And they were like, man, because the office hours, because like it's flexible. Uh, some professors they can allow you to come at 7 and leave at 3. Some will allow you to come at 8 and leave at 4. Some will allow you to come at 9 and leave at 5. But some they don't care. Some they just want you to do your work. And most students, I always teach them that most of the PhD students they come to school at 10 instead of 9. They come at 10, and we normally have lunch in the university at 1, and they'll go for lunch from 1 to 2 or 1 to 1:30, and they go back to their labs and leave at 4. I was like, man, you guys spend work less than 4 hours. Some professors are like that. They are okay with that. As long as they will allow you for the first 1 year to focus on your courses, and the courses, so they are not very difficult, I guess. If you study in Africa, studying abroad has become easier because the opportunities and the challenges we face as African students in Africa is out of this world. But here you have, free internet, you have free books, you have access to like a ton of database. So you have, your fellow students in the field, you have some postdocs in the field. So everything become easier compared to Africa.
Interesting. So there's this question of how to contact professors for scholarship, like where to get their contact details. I guess the university's website, but I'll let you throw more light on that.
Yeah. Because if you go to, for example, the university, just go to academic, then it will take you to colleges. For example, we have 9 colleges, for example. If you're interested in, let's say, College of IT, just go to College of IT. Once you click on College of IT, you will see faculty on top. Once you click on faculty, you will see the list of all the faculty members, their email, their phone numbers, and if you click on any professor, it will show the profile of the professor, what they are working on, the university they graduate from, and everything regarding their profile. Then if you're really interested in that profile, then you can email the professor directly, which is the first thing to do. Yeah. And
Mhm.
like if your email is really catchy, as I said earlier, if the email is too general, because they have professors have ton of emails. So, and make sure that your subject, your email subject, that should be very, very clear and specific. Yeah, and you don't have to necessarily have to write like a long email. Just make it short. And once the professor is already started to reply, then you can, you can make it long. You can, come with more details.
Okay, so putting you in the position of a professor and I as a student, what would you expect to see from my email?
First, I always tell people that an introductory email uh, is more or less the same to every university. The first paragraph is introduce yourself. It's I'm Muhammad, I'm from Nigeria. I said this. In the second paragraph, tell me why should I consider you? Why are you contacting me? Like in your first paragraph, you start introduction, you are Muhammad, you are from Nigeria, you are from this university. In the second paragraph, like tell me why are you contacting me? Okay. Why me? Why not, let's say, Idris? You know, why me? Why not Ibrahim? Why me? So then you tell me, okay, I am contacting you because I saw your profile, I read your work, I'm interested in your work, something like that. Then the third paragraph, tell me what can you offer. If I accept you, what can you offer to my team? Okay. Then just conclude. I always felt like not more than 4 paragraphs in an introductory email. So, and this is general, and it's kind of like a standard for most, like contacting somebody for the first time. Most people are professor.
Okay, so participants on this call and people who would watch this session later on would want to know how to reach out to you after this session.
Uh,
What's the best way?
yeah, you can. I think you already have my LinkedIn profile, so just you can send me email. You just drop me a message on LinkedIn, and I can help to answer any question within my capacity.
Okay, so I like to put people on the spot most time. Me putting you on the spot this time is just basically to know if you are taking interns or you take people who you mentor outside the space of the UAE.
Yeah, because I thought like I started in the Gambia, then I started in Taiwan. I lived there for a while. Still, I have a lot of students, and some of my students actually are PhD students as well. It's funny to say, but some of my students are also PhD students now. Some of them they graduate masters, and they still contact me. They still ask me for so many things. And I have two students. One of them is in the US, and one of them is in Taiwan still. So I try to help them as much as possible. I try to guide them, you know, in the best possible way. Most especially if they're having issues, with their professor or with their work, they always contact me. I even write recommendation letters for them, because I know them personally because they were my students when they were at high school. So they are my mentees now.
All right, no problem. I see a lot of areas where what you've done so far intersect with some of my interests and some of the things I'm currently doing in my postgraduate program. Um, I'm asking this live here because I know there are people who might see your profile and be interested in one or two things you do, I'd like to reach out to you to see areas I can learn from you, areas we can collaborate on, and we'll take it forward from there.
That's fair.
All right. So at this point, I'd say thank you very much for accepting our invitation and for the insights you've shared with us so far. We really appreciate. We know we cannot pay you for this, and the students on the call cannot pay you for this, but we appreciate taking our time and really sharing things that in some of these talks we've not had people talk about, especially the challenges faced in postgraduate studies and some of the other insights you've shared. So I'd say thank you. And if Ibrahim Oladipo has additional thing to say, I'd say this is the time.
Yeah, I think I'll just also add to the gratitude. This was really a great session. Just like you said, this is different from a lot of sessions we've had because this was, you shared a lot of experiences, some of the challenges you face, personal experiences, some of the experiences you saw other people go through, which is, I think that's like one of the best ways to really learn something. And, it's differently when you hear somebody's story than just hearing a random hypothetical situation. Yeah, I just want to thank you for honoring our invitation and coming to give this great talk. It's yeah, it's really a rich session. Yeah, and we hope that maybe some other time we'll be able to invite you to come and talk again on come and talk again to our community. Thanks a lot.
Actually, I'm glad to share my story and my experience to my fellow brothers, my fellow African brothers. So, because there was a time, you know, like I had nobody to look onto, when I have a problem. But now, I'm always there. I'll always be available to help in my own capacity. You can ask me any question, via LinkedIn or something like that, and I'll try to create some time to answer your question.
Yeah. Thanks for that, sir. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Mr. Lukman requested for your email.
Yes, I think I side with Ibrahim.
Oh, okay. Yes, I'll just quickly drop that in the chat now. So.
Oh,
All right. Thank you very much, Ibrahim, and thank you very much, Dr. Mustafa.
my pleasure.
All right.
Yeah,
So,
I've dropped that in the chat, so anyone that wants to copy the email address can pick it from there.
Okay, Muhammad, and I think if that's all, then we can just call it a day. And anytime you need something, just drop me an email or just write to me via LinkedIn, and I will try to my best to answer.
all right, no problem. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much.
All right, bye. Have a lovely afternoon.
To you guys too.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right. Thank you, everyone, for attending. I hope you benefited.